Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about a word you think you know, poverty. Because in our digital world, being left behind isn't just about what's in your bank account anymore. It's about whether you're even connected to the grid. So, right off the bat, I want you to ask yourself this one question. When you picture poverty, what do you see? Go ahead, get that image in your head. Because I have a feeling that by the end of this, that picture is going to look very, very different. Okay, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll look at how the whole idea of poverty has changed. Then, we'll get into technology's big, broken promise to make things fair for everyone. We're going to meet the group that's been hit the hardest, the digital underclass, then zoom out to see this on a global scale, and finally, talk about what it would actually take to build a digital future that includes everyone. So, our story really starts here, with this huge shift in how we think. The old school idea of poverty, just not having enough cash, well, that's not even close to the full story anymore. Just look at the difference here. Back in the day, before the 70s, we measured poverty by things like income, food, shelter, really the bare minimum to survive. But the modern definition, it's way deeper. It's about being cut off from opportunities, not having access to healthcare or education, and, this is key, lacking the capabilities, as the economist Amartya Sen calls it, to actually build a good life for yourself. It's so much more about the whole person. And that brings us to this really powerful idea from Sen, unfavorable inclusion. Think about that for a second. It's not that you're just left out of society. It's that you are part of society, but the rules are rigged against you. You're included, but on terms that make it impossible to get ahead. This idea of social exclusion is absolutely crucial for everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with your smartphone or your laptop? Well, with the rise of the internet, this massive new force just entered the picture. At first, everyone thought technology was going to be the great equalizer, the tool that would lift everybody up. But that's not quite how it played out. In the early days, the optimism was just incredible. People like Nicholas Negroponte, they saw this digital future that would just flatten the world, give everyone, no matter who you were or where you lived, access to the exact same information and opportunities. It was this beautiful, almost utopian vision. But that dream of a level playing field, it stayed a dream. The technology didn't get shared equally. And instead of closing the old gaps between people, the digital revolution actually started carving out brand new ones. And this right here is the absolute heart of our explainer. We're not just talking about a digital divide anymore, that simple gap between the haves and have-nots online. We're talking about digital poverty. And look at those keywords. It's not just about access. It's about not having the skills and the capability, and here's the kicker, that actively reinforces and deepens the inequalities that were already there. It's a nasty feedback loop. So if digital poverty is the condition, then who are the people actually living it? Well, researchers have a name for this group, the digital underclass. And let's be clear, this is not about people who just choose to be offline. This is a group of people who are effectively locked out. Maybe they don't have the devices, or they can't afford a connection, or, and this is so important, they just don't have the skills or the confidence to find their way around the digital world. In a society where everything from banking to applying for a job is moving online, being excluded like this basically makes you an incomplete citizen. The thing they're missing is what sociologists call digital capital. The easiest way to think about it is like money, but for the online world. It's that mix of access, skills, and know-how that you need to get anything done online. And if you don't have it, you're shut out from jobs, from critical health information, and even from having a voice in our modern democracy. Now, if this all feels a little bit theoretical, here's a number that makes it painfully real. 463 million. According to UNICEF, that's how many kids around the world had zero access to remote learning when schools shut down during the pandemic. No laptop, no internet, no chance. The pandemic didn't invent digital poverty, but wow, did it ever pull back the curtain on just how massive the problem is. That huge number tells us something really important. This isn't just about a few people here and there. We need to zoom out and look at the whole planet, because this disconnect is a massive global problem. I mean, just look at this chart. The data is stark. In 2022, 2/3 of the world was using the internet. That's the 66% global average. But in the world's least developed countries, just 36%. That is a 30-point gap. This isn't just a divide, it's a chasm. It's a gulf separating entire countries from the modern world. And the scary long-term risk here is that we end up creating a global digital underclass. You could have whole nations that are just left in the dust, unable to compete in an economy that's all digital, unable to access new healthcare and education, completely isolated from the rest of the world.
Okay, so this sounds pretty bad. What do we do about it? Now, the tempting, easy answer is just to say, well, let's just give everyone internet, right? But all the research shows that's not nearly enough. Real digital inclusion, it turns out, is like a four-legged stool. First, yes, you absolutely need universal and affordable access. That's the ticket to the game. But access is totally useless without the second leg, skills. People need the know-how to use these tools safely and effectively. Third, you need smart, fair policies so the digital world doesn't just become a wild west that takes advantage of people. And finally, the most important leg of all, you have to fix the underlying social and economic problems. Technology just magnifies whatever society it's put into. If our society is unequal, technology will just make it more unequal.
So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. We have to stop thinking of this as a technology problem. It is a social problem that has a tech component. Solving digital poverty means we have to focus on skills, create fair rules for everybody online, and most of all, get serious about tackling the root causes of inequality. Digital inclusion and social inclusion, they're the exact same fight.
And so I'll leave you with this final question to think about. As our lives get more and more tangled up with the digital world, as our entire society continues to move online, we just have to keep asking ourselves, in a world that runs on connection, who are we leaving behind?